Landscape locations can often jump out at you when you least expect them, and where I'm going now is one of those locations. I was literally out a couple of weeks ago on my bike for a ride in the morning, and happened to come to this embankment at the end of this lane, and I decided to go and have a look what was over the back, and it sort of looked over an area of salt marsh. I'd never been there before, I've never seen any photographs from it, but it struck me as a place with high potential. I think there's not a lot going on. I think it's very heavily dependent on a good sky, but it's literally just an area of salt marsh, and you've got lots of channels that make for good leading lines. So since I found it, I've been waiting for a good evening, one when there's been decent weather, and two when I've got the opportunity to go myself. So I'm on my way now, obviously. I'm not sure, it could be one of those nights that's full of false promises. The light is beautiful at the moment. It's about 45-50 minutes off sunset, but there is a bank of cloud on the horizon, which is often the case on this side of the country. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that they'll all come together. When I get there, I've got to find my composition. I've never been there with a camera, so I've literally no idea where to stand, so it's just going to be one of those hit and miss kind of shots. It's not what I enjoy really, but at least I've scouted the location to some extent in that I've been, which often isn't the case. So I'll see you when I get there. So this is it, Longton Marsh. So the first thing that I wasn't expecting is the angle of the sun. It's not quite where I wanted it. So the channel that I originally had in mind isn't going to work. There is a bit of noise in the background that you can hear, the bangs. It's right next to a clay pigeon shoot, so it's not exactly the most serene location I've ever been to. So I apologise for that. Anyhow, so I'm going to find a new channel to work with. It is really a bit of an exploration, this session, because I've never been before. I'm not particularly bothered if I don't find the best spot, but that's what you have to do. You've got to come several times in order to find the best locations and then work it from that point going forward. But I just thought it'd be useful to put this little video together, just to show that it's not always just about arriving at the great spot and taking the pictures. You do have to put the hours in sometimes. To make things a little bit worse, the cloud that was around has dispersed to nothing. We've just got empty clear skies. So I'm not even sure it's going to work at all, this. I think it's heading in the wrong direction. But like I say, more about finding the location, not necessarily always about taking the shot. I think we need a bit of rain, to be fair. And look at that, completely bone dry, full of little pools. And when I came the other day on my bike, all these were full of water. So they must fill and empty very, very quickly. But the main channel, which is fed from the estuary, has actually still got water in it. So there are opportunities. Interestingly, where I am on Longton Marsh, it's actually a really important site for wildlife. Absolutely brilliant place to come to watch wildlife. On the face of it, to look around, you wouldn't think there were any, but if you listen, lots of skylarks, absolutely loads of skylarks. This whole area is actually internationally important. It's part of the Ribble and Alt Estuaries Ramsar site. It's also a special protection area and a site of special scientific interest. So very heavily protected, and quite rightly so. Absolutely wonderful for wildlife. So unfortunately the channel I was following has actually dried up. Damn. I think we could be coming back to this one another day. Yep, they're all dry. So before I knock it on the head, I am going to quickly shoot to a spot on the other side of the fence over there, which was the original shot that I first saw, and just weigh that up from a composition point of view. I'm not hopeful of any pictures tonight. I may well take one just to see how it looks, but I'm not expecting great things, I'm afraid. So this is the location that I had in mind, and as you can see, no water, but everything's against me tonight. Sun's in the wrong place, no clouds, no water. So I think it's one of those where I'm just going to have to come back to this one. Need a high tide, of course. I can tell looking at the strand line that the water does get higher. Not quite sure if it gets high enough to fill these little islands in the middle. I have no idea, but I think it comes high enough to make a composition. But what I should check while I'm here is I have an app, Sunset and Sunrise, on my phone, and it's a useful little app, and I'm sure there's lots of apps like it that tell you the position of the sun at any given time. So the camera is facing in the direction that I want to shoot, and the phone is orientated in the same direction. So as you can see, the sun set tonight was over to the right of where I'm shooting, so it's not in my line of sight at all. The actual position for me tonight would have been the sun setting round about there, or somewhere to the right or left of that. As you can see, mid-afternoon, absolutely no good whatsoever. Change the date. Let's have a look. Whether you can see that. Let's go for January. And then sun setting 4:30 directly in the correct location. So I think we need to come back round about the 24th of January. So this could be a long video. Finally, the clay pigeon shooting stopped, and you can just stand and enjoy the last few sounds of the skylark and the 4x4s going home. Don't you just love wide open spaces? I know I do. Got it all to myself. So all those months have passed and I'm back on Longton Marsh, and I thought I'd nip down just to give it a quick recce. At this moment in time the sun is setting in pretty much the right place in relation to the channel that I found earlier last year, actually, as it is now. But there's been a couple of developments that I've noticed since I was here last. At this moment in time it's high tide and it's a 9 metre and the channel's still empty, so it's probably going to be a very, very high tide for it to fill up, probably something like a 10, 10.5, even 11. Spring and autumn tides probably going to be the time to do it. But because I need the sun in exactly that position, it's really making the window opportunity very, very narrow indeed. Now interestingly, when I got here before, the channel behind it which I never considered last time because it was also dry, is now filled with water. Now this channel is separated from the other with a small dam where the farmers built up with bricks so we can bridge the two. Now it's holding fresh water because there's ice on the surface, so I know that it's not due to tide levels, otherwise it just wouldn't freeze. So this is a pretty dependable channel, so I'm going to shift my attention from that one to this one. This one's got a very similar nice S shape to it, but all that said, on reflection, I don't think either channel are going to produce a fantastic image in their own right, and the shot is so heavily dependent on a really cracking sky, without which I think it would just be a channel with water in the middle of nowhere. So I'm going to keep my eye on the weather for the next couple of weeks and hopefully get down here at last minute. I only live very, very short distance away, so I can come at the drop of a hat, just keep my eye on the clouds and just hope for a fantastic sky and see if we can make something of this. So it really is quite late. Well, I'm saying late, it's about 4:30, something like that. Sun's gone. I stuck around, there was some pink clouds just showing on the horizon, and I thought we might get something, but it hasn't really gathered to enough quantity to really make for a nice image. It's beautifully quiet on the marsh. It's very, very different to the summertime, like it was last year when I filmed the first part of this. It's desperately quiet. I've heard the odd curlew, but apart from that, there's nothing. Not even any pink-footed geese that I might have hoped could have been around at this time of year, but desperately silent at the minute. But it's nice at the same time. It's just so nice to be out. One or two redwings just going along the hedgerow at the back, probably after the last of the hawthorn berries. But other than that, yeah, quite happy. So I'll see you back here at some point in the very near future, probably this month, with some better conditions. Bye for now. Now, unfortunately, that never happened. 4 weeks passed in January, the sun moved across the horizon each night, and I never got that dramatic sky that I was looking for. I had all but given up on this film and wondered whether I would get the shot again the following January in 2019, but there becomes a point where you just want to conclude the film and get it out there. And as per previous film, lots of viewers had said that it was important to show failures as well as successes, and this film was shaping up to be just that. So here I am this morning with a forecast of dramatic fog. So every credit to the Wire weather app this morning. I'll put links to that below in the video. Everything is as it said it would be. There's a bit of fog, it is dissipating around where I am at the moment, but there's a beautiful mackerel sky developing just to the right hand side of where I am. Got my composition set up and it's actually just, I've rotated 180 degrees from where I was the other morning, and what I've done basically is just taking advantage of the sky and the way it's setting on fire. And to be fair, it's got quite a nice little snake to it, and yeah, just going to stand here now and just wait and see what happens. Fingers crossed I'm going to get that all important final image that I've been waiting for. So hopefully you can see me. I've racked the ISO up on the camera to try and get to at least so you can see my face, but it might be a little bit grainy, so I apologise for that. I just wanted to show you the difficulties of landscape photography. Now, as you know, I've been trying to get this image, or an image from here, for well over a year now, and I've looked at the weather forecast this morning, and like I said, we've had the forecast of fog, which is sort of going away now, and the forecast for high cloud, which we've also got. Now, that sky that I'm praying will catch is fantastic over there. It's fantastic over there, and it's pretty good over there. But there's a gap right where my image is framed. I just don't have the time to go and wandering around this marsh looking for another composition. I would just never find it and I won't get anything. So there becomes a point where you've got to stick with what you've got, and no amount of planning and preparation, which I have done on this occasion, can guarantee you that perfect final image, and you just got to go and roll with the punches, and that this morning just might be the punch that I have to roll with. So whilst I'm waiting for something to happen, I'm just going to walk you through the composition. I can't show you through the camera because the camera's on a vertical format and it doesn't fit the film format, but it's very, very simple. Essentially, the bottom right hand portion of the frame is using this bit of an embankment here, and that forms a triangular base to the shot. I've got a band of salt marsh grass just growing out the embankment there that's died off, and that is going to provide a little bit of contrasting colour with the green salt marsh. Hopefully it will come up a bit more of a golden colour on the shot when it's processed. When the sun comes up, that might actually be really quite nice, but I think we're going to have lost the sky by that time, but who knows. I'm going to stick around and wait and see. Anyway, the main shot hinges on the ditch line, which is a snake in shape that takes you through the scene and out. Now, there's one big problem with this shot, and that is the distance, and that was always going to be a problem with this location, and that's why I always said that it was dependent on a really good sky. Beyond the fence line, there's nothing. It's just flat, empty expanse of land. And had I had the fog this morning, that would have compensated for that because you just wouldn't have seen it. So now, all that I can hope for is that the sky does fill up a little bit as the dawn rises, and we do get some detail in it as the sun comes up. Where do I start? The sun has come up and it's lit the grasses on the left there, and they do look nice. There's a bit of dew condensation on the grass, and it's backlit ever so slightly, but that all-important sky never materialised. There's a bit of reflected cloud in the water and some detail up there, but it's not got any colour in it, and it really needs that or some atmospheric conditions. So I think I'm going to call it. It's a beautiful day out here on the marsh, and I'm going to just enjoy. 2 egrets just flying overhead. Beautiful. It's such a nice place to be, and it's still only 6:20. There's no one about, it's silent. So I'm going to go and sit over there, reflect on this film, and just enjoy the rest of the morning. So for those of you that wanted to see the reality of landscape photography and the difficulties that we are faced when trying to get these images, this is exactly that. But if you've enjoyed the film nonetheless and you want to see more of my content, please consider subscribing. Leave some comments in the boxes below and let me know what you think about this video. And I'll see you all again in the next one. Bye for now.